Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a powerful storm system leaves a trail of destruction. Hear from survivors and see how communities are bracing for what's next. Plus, early voting has wrapped up. See how this year's turnout compares and what it could mean for Election Day. Plus, the Supreme Court is weighing a case that could change how public funds are used for education.
And we got showers and thunderstorms up north around the Bryan area, but when is it going to get down here? We'll have that answer coming up in weather.
Plus, the Calhoun County Sheriff makes his voice heard at the state capitol, speaking out on key issues. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shawna Currie. With early voting over, we are taking a closer look at the early turnout for Saturday's election. 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley spoke with the Victoria County Elections Administrator to learn what the numbers mean. Ray?
Yes, Shawna, more than 2,000 Victoria County voters cast their ballot in person during early voting, and more than 200 ballots came in the mail. That counts for 4.5% of Victoria County registered voters. Election Administrator Margetta Hills says the small numbers is expected, saying most people do not early vote. She also encourages residents to vote in every election, regardless of how many items are up for voting and whether it's local or national.
You have a voice on the people that you in the community with. That's the voice of, going to be your voice, how you want to be represented, and it helps if you go out and vote.
If you didn't get out during early voting, your last chance is on Saturday, when polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. To learn more about where to vote or what's on the ballot, go to Victoria County website at vctxelections.org. Shawna?
Well, this brings us to our viewer poll today. If you did not vote early, what would make you more likely to do so in the future? Would it be longer hours, more locations, better information? Nothing, you just prefer to vote on Election Day, or you don't plan to vote? Go to crossroadstoday.com to let us know. And right now, 39% of voters say more locations would get them out or more likely to get out and vote during early voting. Just behind that is longer hours at 31%. So keep voting. We'll have another look at the results on 25 News Now at 6. Well, things are warming up outside this week. Let's go to Jacob Lozano with a first look at the forecast. And Jacob, it's beginning to feel a little bit more and more like summertime every day.
It definitely is. Things have been warming up these past couple of days, but we're going to see it begin to cool down as we go into the weekend. But 84 degrees is what we're currently looking at, with those winds blowing at about 25 mile per hour. We saw about 40 mile per hour gusts here today, and we're going to see some windy conditions continue across the Crossroads region tomorrow as well as into Friday before a frontal system moves through and we start to see those rain chances. But those rain chances are well north of us right now. There are seeing a couple spotty showers, especially around here in between Dilley area. We're could see some pop-up showers coming in here tomorrow morning. But what about the main rain chance? Well, I have that coming up in our full forecast. Shawna?
Well, portions of the central and eastern U.S. are under threat this hour of more potentially catastrophic flooding and severe weather. This as many in those regions are just beginning to assess damage from a wave of storms yesterday. As Laura Aguirre reports, the relentless, savage weather has some residents simply trying to catch their breath.
The minute I opened the door to look outside, everything broke loose.
Nixa, Missouri resident John Ruppert now counts himself among the number of lucky survivors. His state, one of more than a dozen hit by a dangerous storm system that roared across parts of the central and eastern U.S. yesterday.
You know, it was horrible, man.
Fortunately, Ruppert and his family were unhurt, but the damage to his business is extensive. This massive tree crushed the home of Jerry Bowe in Willard, about half an hour away.
I just kept praying that it wouldn't get as bad as it finally got.
A possible tornado ripped away part of this Potosi, Missouri elementary school as staff and students ran for safety inside a FEMA-provided shelter.
To have that FEMA building here and to have that extra safety, that is the most rewarding part.
Violent wind gusts up to 90 miles an hour tore across a 500-mile stretch from eastern Indiana over much of Pennsylvania, leaving widespread damage and power outages. At least 2 school districts near Pittsburgh remain closed today. Many of the areas hit by Tuesday's devastating storms are back in the crosshairs again, with multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms possible across the southern plains today, according to the Storm Prediction Center. Ongoing heavy rain in parts of Oklahoma and Texas is worsening already extensive flooding, with authorities calling for evacuations in the towns of Lexington and Lawton, near Oklahoma City midday. Parts of those states and neighboring Arkansas also under a tornado watch into the evening. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
At last check, more than 349,000 customers remain without power in Pennsylvania, with more than 40,000 others also in the dark in West Virginia and Ohio combined. That's according to poweroutage.us. Over in Missouri, that number tops 26,000. And down here in Texas, about 29,000 homes are waiting for the lights to come back on. The Texas House has approved a bill that expands one of the state's most successful loan programs for the agriculture industry. That legislation, House Bill 43, now heads to the Senate for debate. To read the full Texas Tribune article, visit crossroadstoday.com. A case that could clear the way for religious charter schools is now in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. Justices heard arguments today over whether Oklahoma can move forward with St. Isidore, a publicly funded online Catholic charter school. The Oklahoma Supreme Court had blocked the plan, but now the nation's highest court will decide whether to overturn that ruling. At the heart of the case, two key parts of the First Amendment: the Establishment Clause, which bars the government from promoting religion, and the Free Exercise Clause, which protects against religious discrimination. The outcome could set a major precedent, not just for Oklahoma, but for states across the country.
Right. In this instance, 47 states and the District of Columbia have statutes that say effectively that charter schools are created by the state, funded by the state, overseen by the state. Its teachers are eligible for public school retirement. Its boards are subject to open records, open meetings, and in every essence, every indicia of a governmental actor. And that's the position that the state of Oklahoma has taken.
This case will be decided by only 8 of the 9 justices. Justin Amy Coney Barrett is not participating. Calhoun County Sheriff Bobby Vickery was at the Texas State Capitol today representing our community in a key legislative hearing. He addressed the Homeland Security and Public Safety Committee about Senate Bill 36, a proposal to add a Homeland Security division under the Department of Public Safety. Sheriff Vickery shared the concerns and priorities of Calhoun County's citizens and law enforcement. It's one of several times he has spoken this session, showing his dedication to smart public safety policy. For the first time in 3 years, the U.S. has a negative economic output. The country's GDP is down 0.3%. The number reflects the first 3 months of the year. President Trump today is blaming former President Biden. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
New government numbers out today show the U.S.'s economic output is slowing under President Trump. Gross domestic product for the first quarter of the year is down 0.3%.
And I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is quarterly numbers.
It's the first time the U.S. is seeing negative growth since 2022. The numbers reflect the first 3 months of the year and the first 3 months of Trump's term.
This is Biden, and you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis.
The Bureau of Economic Analysis says the GDP decline reflects an increase in imports. The numbers calculated before Trump's tariffs went into effect. Companies stockpiling inventory, causing that spike in imports.
Businesses themselves have announced that, they are uncertain about how much they will be able to sell in the future.
Trump holding a cabinet meeting today after his 100th day in office. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer says tariff deals are still some weeks out.
So this is something, a reordering of global trade that hasn't happened since the end of World War II, and it's long overdue.
Trump talking tariffs with ABC's Terry Moran yesterday.
145% tariffs on China, and that's good. Basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs.
Trump today.
Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally.
The executive director of the Port of Los Angeles tells CNBC their shipping volume will be down 35% next week. He says major American retailers are stopping their shipments from China as the country faces that tariff of 145%. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Starbucks is brewing up something brand new in Brownsville, Texas. Its first ever 3D printed store in the U.S. Built by a robotic arm that layered concrete like icing on a cake, this compact drive-through only location opens on Friday. While it looks like a typical Starbucks at first glance, the ridged tube-like walls give away its high-tech origins. Experts call it cutting edge and say 3D printing could help speed up construction and fight labor shortages. For now, Starbucks is not saying if more of these are coming, but this one is definitely turning heads. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. The Texas Rangers' investigation into former Constable Kelly Phelps are related to a wreck. Plus, a Cuero Chamber of Commerce luncheon highlights the strong future of the ag industry. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us straight ahead on 25 News now at 5. Are you feeling drained by the daily grind? We'll learn a simple trick to boost your motivation and recharge your brain. Plus, a new warning urges parents to think twice before letting kids use AI companion apps. It is that time of year, busy schedules, long to-do lists, and by the end of the day, your energy is completely zapped. If that sounds familiar, your brain might just be craving a little dopamine boost. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither shows us how creating a simple dopamenu could help spark motivation and sharpen focus.
If your to-do list keeps getting longer, but the motivation to get things done is in short demand, you're not alone. And experts say a dopamine menu or dopamenu may be just what you need.
It's a personalized list of activities that can bring you relaxation, relief, and reward.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta says dopamine is a neurotransmitter and a key part of our brain's reward system. He says it's critical for decision-making, planning, and the ability to pay attention.
If you can trigger your brain and access that dopamine, it can help you focus.
To design your own dopamenu, Gupta says to write down a list of activities you can turn to before it's needed. They should be reasonable to do and ones you personally enjoy. Consider ones that involve mindful movement, like a short walk, a one-song dance party, or a bike ride. You can also consider creative outlets like writing, social connections such as taking a break to see a friend, or rest and recovery like a short nap or soothing bath.
Organize your menu the way a restaurant does. Appetizers are small breaks. Main dishes take a bit longer, and desserts are more indulgent. Just remember, have fun with it.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The idea of a dopamenu was first coined by an ADHD coach to help neurodivergent folks push past the urge to avoid boring tasks. But experts say it's not just for them. It can give anyone a boost in focus and motivation. The nonprofit Common Sense Media says kids under 18 should not use AI companion apps, warning they pose unacceptable risks like exposure to sexual or self-harm content. The warning follows a lawsuit over a teen's suicide after chatting with a bot. Researchers tested apps like Character AI, Replica, and Nomi and say stronger safeguards are urgently needed. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Memorial Medical Center celebrates its 75th anniversary, and an Autism Day parade brings joy through the town. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com.
Well, we have a severe thunderstorm right there, a little cell that's popped up. It's dropping quarter-sized hail, but when are we going to see the rain? We'll have that coming up in our full forecast after the break. Well, good evening, Crossroads. It's a bit of a windy day here in the Crossroads region. The wind is still howling at 25 miles per hour out of the south-southeast, but 84 degrees is what we're looking at right now. We're starting to drop down in temperature, but we are going to be seeing some higher temperatures begin to be persistent here. But we do have a lone thunderstorm over here around heading towards Pleasanton area, and it is dropping some hail. It is a bit of a severe thunderstorm in the area, but most of that severity stuff is actually well north of us. We may start to see some showers begin to pop up as we go on later into tonight, into tomorrow morning. So may see a little bit of spot up showers. I don't know about a severe thunderstorm, but it's not out of the question. We'll just say that. Now, wind speeds throughout the Crossroads region are in the 20s. They're going to be slowly beginning to die down here as we go on into the nighttime. Here at 3 p.m. we'll start to see about 10-mile-per-hour winds, but we're going to see those winds begin to pick up again here going into Thursdays. We'll get to about 15 to 16. Won't be as windy as it was today, but still be pretty windy. But Friday, we're going to see those windy conditions continue as we get into the 20 to 22 mile per hour range sustained. So it'll be consistently blowing at 20 miles per hour here Friday. But you can barely see it up north. We're going to start to see that front line begin to move on down here, and that's going to bring us our rain chances coming into Friday afternoon time. So let's just take a look at that here as we'll start to see some rain chances begin to pop up here Thursday morning. About 5 a.m. there's that line of thunderstorms that are up in Dallas that are slowly moving down towards Houston, and we start to see some pop-up showers begin to move here. Just a little edge of that front of that line of thunderstorms is what's going to come into the Crossroads region. But we're looking into this low pressure system that's moving eastward, and it's going to be a front down here into the region, and that's going to give us our best rain chances coming into Friday evening. Now look at that, Friday afternoon, talking about very excessive rainfall here in the Hill Country region, and we're going to be a part of some of that rain as it begins to slowly move down across the region. There it is, 11 p.m. here Friday night into Saturday morning is going to be our best chance for some rain, really decent rain here, but by Saturday morning it'll begin to slowly move out. Still going to have some lingering showers here coming into Saturday and Sunday, so we'll keep it at about a 20% here. And those rainfall totals, well, they're actually looking pretty interesting. We're going to see minimum here in Port Lavaca, but the most of rain is looking to be around Cuero. We could see about an inch, close to an inch and a half here going into Saturday, as well as here in Victoria, see about half an inch here through Saturday at 5 p.m. But yeah, minimal chances with our greatest chance here in Cuero, but temperatures, like I mentioned, are going to be also rising. We'll be waking up in the mid 70s, bit of a muggy start to the morning, but be up in the 80s, maybe even some 90s there along our western counties. So it's going to be another warm day, but we're going to see those temperatures once again drop here into Saturday. But Friday right now, another warm, muggy start. We'll be pushing the 90s well down southwest of us, about 87 degrees here in Victoria, still a bit warm. And here we go, Saturday, 60s. We'll be waking up to as that front has moved in here into the region. We'll actually see 62 possibly here coming into Sunday morning, but we'll be in the 80s as our high and possibly some upper 70s there along close to I-10. So the mugginess will continue, but we will begin dropping down here as we go into the weekend. Now, a few showers here in Port Lavaca tomorrow morning, but partly cloudy skies with those winds howling out of the southeast at 15 miles per hour, as well as cloudy conditions. Maybe see an isolated shower or thunderstorm here at 9 a.m. there in Cuero, as well as here in Victoria. We may see some cloudy conditions, isolated showers and thunderstorms in the morning time, but we'll give off into mostly cloudy skies. But those next 7 days, well, we're going to see warm conditions, windy conditions. Winds will start blowing out of the northeast. We'll drop our temperatures. We'll be at 62 Sunday morning, but rain chances will be persistent throughout the next 7 days. Now, don't forget to scan the QR code for more news, weather, and sports. Shawna?
Still to come, a major recall is affecting hundreds of thousands of Ford and Lincoln vehicles. Find out which models are impacted. U.S. stocks closed mixed today as new data showed the U.S. economy shrank last quarter for the first time since 2022. While the Nasdaq slipped 15 points, both the Dow and the S&P 500 notched a 7-day winning streak. However, the indexes still closed out April in the red. Oil ended the day down $2.22 at $58.22 per barrel. Consumers' uneasy feelings about the economy, tariffs, and their jobs were underscored by two reports released this morning. Karen Kafa has details from Washington.
We've talked a lot about consumer sentiment and what economists describe as soft data and what consumers are feeling in the midst of the upheaval surrounding President Trump's tariff policy. But data released on Wednesday morning backs those feelings up with a slowdown in economic growth and hiring pulling back. President Donald Trump denying the impact of his tariffs after the U.S. economy posted its worst quarter since 2022.
I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is quarterly numbers.
Analysts see it differently.
Tariffs and the anticipation of tariffs were really driving some of the drop in GDP that we saw.
The Commerce Department said the nation's gross domestic product, or GDP, the total value of products and services, shrank at a 0.3% annual rate during the first 3 months of 2025. It's a sharp reverse from 2.4% growth during the final 3 months of 2024. Businesses stepped up imports during the first quarter, likely to get ahead of Trump's tariffs. And when imports exceed exports, that drags down growth. Consumer spending was its weakest since mid-2023.
The bottom line is that the economy is slowing, consumers are not spending as much as they used to, and that's really taking away some of the power away from the economy at the time when tariffs and fears of recessions are starting to increase.
A separate report from payroll processor ADP showed private sector employers added just 62,000 jobs in April, a steep drop-off from 147,000 in March. Particularly concerning to some economists, small businesses pulling back.
Those are businesses that really have the least amount of margins to be able to deal with tariffs, and that's one of the things we're very concerned about going forward, is that we could see red ink in the employment data as we get into May and June.
A more comprehensive look at the labor market since President Trump's Liberation Day tariff announcement on April 2nd will come on Friday when the Labor Department releases its monthly jobs report for April. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Nearly 300,000 Ford and Lincoln vehicles are being recalled. The vehicles have issues with the rear view camera, which could increase the risk of a crash. Among the vehicles included in the recall, the 2015 models of the Lincoln MKC, Lincoln Navigator, Ford Expedition, Ford F-250, F-350, and 450 trucks, and Ford Broncos from 2022 and 2023. Walmart is giving us a peek into its Store of the Future renovations. More than 650 stores in 47 states and Puerto Rico are getting makeovers this year, including one in the Houston area. The changes will include energy-efficient lighting, electric vehicle charging stations, and bigger signs and displays. Plus, expect a bigger selection, expanded online pickup, and a new pharmacy layout. Walmart says these updates will create tens of thousands of jobs, and they're also planning to build or convert over 150 more stores in the next 5 years. A Bronx Zoo chick is getting the royal treatment with a little help from a hand puppet and some clever zookeepers. Don't want to miss this.
Tonight, President Trump's first 100 days. Americans sending a message on the economy and inflation. Plus, conclave countdown. Who will be the next pope? The early signals already. World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast in America.
Well, finally this afternoon, the Bronx Zoo is using a unique technique to raise a king vulture chick. The zoo employee uses a hand puppet to feed the baby bird while also covering his or her face to keep the chick from viewing humans as a support system. The Bronx Zoo helped create this costume-based technique 40 years ago, and it's been used by other zoos to raise and release critically endangered birds. This chick, whose gender has yet to be confirmed, is the first of its kind at the Bronx Zoo since the 1990s. So very interesting. That's one of those animals that's imprinted. If they, they can't be around humans or other types of animals, so it thinks that that's mama bird feeding it.
That makes a lot of sense. I thought it was something from the Muppets, I'm not gonna lie. They looked something. But
like a little show, puppet show.
Yeah, something like that. Those next 7 days are going to be a little bit more on the moisture side. We're gonna see those rain chances continue to increase, but windy conditions are gonna be persistent here Thursday, Friday, as well as into Saturday. Now, rain chances, it says 20% there Friday, but the afternoon time and the evening time, so in between Friday and Saturday, that's going to be our biggest rain chance. Probably, I'll put a 60% chance of rain there as that front begins to move through. But temperatures are also going to be dropping here slightly going into Saturday and Sunday. So get a little cooler before we get into summer. I mean, about 5 degrees cooler.
Yeah, every little bit helps.
That's true.
So are we expecting anything severe like they're seeing up in North Texas and some other states?
Not as of right now. We are going to see a good amount of rainfall though.
Okay, good. We need it. So, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here at 6 right after World News with David Muir.